Environmental Engineering Graduate Admissions Program. We're happy that you've taken time out of your day to join us. And just so that you all know, this session is going to be recorded. Jumped around there. On this first slide here, I want to introduce you to the Environmental Engineering Graduate Program Leadership Team. On our team, we have Joe Ryan, who is the Associate Director of Graduate Education. Hey, Joe. We have Jenna Rodriguez. She is our Graduate Program Specialist. And me, Deanne Sylvester. I am our Graduate Program Manager. So we are the faces behind the Even Grad Advising mailbox. So when you email Even Grad Advising, you are contacting one of us and we are getting back to you as needed. So welcome, thank you, we're happy you're here. Also want to introduce you to some of our faculty. They will be hosting our breakout rooms today. First up, we have Sarah Goodroad. She is the program coordinator for the Mortensen Center in Global Engineering and Resilience. Hi, Sarah, thank you. We have Scott Summers. He is a professor emeritus for our water reuse program. Hi, Scott. And then we also have Michael Hannigan. He was a professor in air quality. So hi, Mike. If you're on here, I can't see everybody. So. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Joe Ryan to introduce his first slide.
Thanks, Deanne, and thanks potential applicants for your interest in our program. And let me mention, just to start off, the Organization of Environmental Engineering here at the University of Colorado Boulder. We are a program in the College of Engineering that draws in faculty from primarily two different departments, civil, environmental, architectural engineering, and mechanical engineering as well. Most of the people who work on the water side of things come from the civil, environmental, architectural department, and most of the air quality people come from the mechanical engineering side. And so the program was created because environmental engineering is interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. We're pulling in knowledge from a lot of different angles to solve environmental problems. We've got 24 faculty in the environmental engineering program. And I think, I don't have any statistics there, but I think we have one of the more diverse groups of faculty, particularly for engineering. And I think that's something that has been a really nice development over the past 10 years or so. One of the things that you can get by coming to Boulder for graduate school is not just us in environmental engineering, but a whole campus full of programs, departments, and so on that are interested in environmental engineering, as well as we're situated in Boulder where there's quite a few national labs and research centers like the U.S. Geological Survey, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, National Center for Atmospheric Research. Just down the road in Denver, Bureau of Reclamation. We've had collaborations with National Institute of Standards and Technology right here in Boulder. Our graduate program is 65 students right now, about half and half master's and PhD. And just this may not be of direct interest, but we've got about 250 undergrad students in the Bachelor of Science program. On the grad level, it's notable that we are 62% female, which is quite an outlier for the College of Engineering, and 34% for various underrepresented race and ethnicity groups. The college recently did some surveys of graduating of graduate students, and I think rather encouraging 90% rated themselves as being satisfied or very satisfied with their grad student experience here. And I've got all sorts of good examples of how that happens in environmental engineering, but I'll save them if you have questions about that. We only talk about rankings if we're doing well in the rankings, of course, but we are. Among public universities in the United States, we're ranked number 8 by U.S. News and World Report. And the College of Engineering here is also nicely ranked for some things. ResearchGate, the place you might go to see what various people have done for their research, what publications they have, and things like that, came out with a poll here saying that the University of Colorado Boulder is the #1 best environmental science, best place to do environmental science in the world. And I think that's really highlighting the fact that we've got so many resources beyond just environmental engineering here. You can do so many different things: history, law, business, the national labs. There's just so many different ways to get what you want if environmental science and engineering is your thing.
Okay, so now we're going to review the application process. These details can also be found on our webpage, but I just wanted to make sure you all had the details on how to submit your application, and like you have a chance to ask any questions if you have any in person or while we're all together. So this first slide here just describes the application process. All applications must be submitted through the CU Graduate School graduate admissions portal. And when you surf to this portal, the image below, that is what it looks like. You will have to log in and you will have to enter all of your recruitment information. Please note that your application must be complete and fully submitted before it can be processed and undergo review. Okay, so Joe, I'm going to hand it over to you to explain our various degrees.
Sure. I'm going to talk about the 2 degrees we offer on your way in, 2 degrees that you can apply for. One is the Doctor of Philosophy degree, and there we have listed some of the general areas of faculty research. These are just really to give you an idea of what kind of specialties we cover in among our faculty. There's a quick little description there of the path to the PhD, just in case you're not aware of this. But first of all, you're applying and trying to find a research advisor and support for doing your research, or maybe you're in a fortunate position of being able to bring in some support on your own. And then as you actually go through the process, in your first semester or 2, you would take a preliminary exam, which is an oral exam with a research prospectus to check to see that you have mastered master's level coursework in support of doing your research. Then maybe 3 or 4 semesters in, you would be taking the comprehensive exam, which is writing a research proposal. It's practice writing a research proposal, but it's also outlining what you would do to get your PhD. Then there's some period of time where you're just doing your research and trying to get that research published, because that's the best way to show that you've learned what you're supposed to learn for doing a PhD, is how to do research. At the end, there's a dissertation that you have to finish up and deliver to your committee and defend it. So that's our quick story about the PhD. Now, many of you may be applying to come in for the master's degree, and University of Colorado Boulder here in our program, we've got a professional master's for incoming students, which puts you into a path of getting a master's degree via coursework. We have, I'm going to say 4 different areas that you can look at there, but one of them is still in gray at the bottom: water engineering and management. I think the current setup for that is you'd have to go through the civil, environmental, architectural engineering department. But through environmental engineering, we've got global engineering and water reuse as 2 specific programs that have sets of courses that you have to take to get those, to get that professional master's. And then if you aren't focused on one of those 2, we have this general environmental engineering path as well that attempts to cover environmental engineering broadly, and then allows you plenty of electives along the way to specialize in some area that's not officially designated. The details for this is you're doing 30 credit hours, and usually that's 3 credit hours a course, so that's 10 courses. Depending on which path you take, there might be somewhere between 4 and 6 required courses. You can do some of the technical electives could be done. One of the technical electives could be done as an independent study. And if you get in a position where you find some research that you want to do with an advisor, and you've got support for that, you can convert the professional master's into a standard Master of Science degree and do a thesis. And that can be done as a coursework master's as well. But normally, if you're just doing coursework, we would have you stay in the professional master.
Okay, so moving along with the application process. Our application requirements are as follows. We require a 3.0 undergraduate GPA. Applicants who cannot meet this undergraduate standard may still secure regular admission if you have completed 9 semester hours of relevant graduate coursework with at least a 3.25 GPA average. That is graduate level coursework. You are required to have 3 letters of recommendation, a CV or resume, your unofficial transcripts, and the GRE is not required for our application, so you do not need to submit those scores. I'm going to ask Joe to chime in a little bit about who you guys should be using as your recommenders for your letters of recommendation, and also to give us some advice on what makes a good CV.
Sure. Thanks, Deanne. Yeah, so as it says there, of the 3 letters of recommendation, we'd like to see 2 of them academic. I think the best advice to give there is if you've got professors who know something about you beyond just what you did in class, that is really the best thing. If you've been involved in any research or internships as an undergraduate, that somebody could describe how you performed and that sort of thing, that's the kind of thing we would really be looking for. We do sometimes get letters of recommendation from people outside academic, and those are often a little harder to interpret in terms of how we think you're going to perform in courses for the master's degree. On the CV side, again, I think we'd like to see what kept you busy beyond just getting the degree. We can look at your transcripts. We'll get your transcripts with the application, but we're really interested in what you think was important to your growth and your qualification to move into our program and develop into an environmental engineer and do something worthwhile in this field. And so the CV is a good chance to show us what was important to you besides just what courses you took.
Okay, moving along with the application requirements. For international student applicants, you must provide a TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo score if English is not your native language. Required scores for each proficiency exam are as follows. You must have a 90 for the TOEFL, a 7.0 for the IELTS, and a 120 for Duolingo. The English proficiency requirement will be waived if you've completed at least 1 year of full-time study at a U.S. institution or at an institution in a country where English is the native language at the time you apply, and within 2 years of your desired admission term. In limited cases, an alternative proof of English proficiency can be filed with your faculty advisor, but you do have to have support from a faculty advisor to qualify for that. Application requirements continued. We do require a personal statement. We would like that to be no more than 2 pages. Your personal statement should address the following areas: your reasons for applying to CU and your preparation for this field of study, your scientific and professional goals and other aspects of your background and interests which may aid the admissions committee in evaluating your aptitude and motivation for graduate study. If you are interested in pursuing research as part of your degree at CU, please include the following information in your personal statement: what your research interests are, and if there are any faculty you would like to work with. Joe, do you have any more to add to this?
Yeah, and this goes along with one of the questions we just got in the chat. In the personal statement, it's your chance to tell us why you think this would be a good place for you. And as we're reading the personal statements, we'd like to see that you've done a little research on what we specialize in and how it would benefit you and why this is something that you think you'd want to do. This goes especially strongly for PhD applicants. We expect that, by the time you're looking to do a PhD, you'd be pretty focused on some particular area of environmental engineering, and you would have tried to figure out who here you would want to partner with for 3 or 4 years to be working on these projects. So this is something we'd expect that you would have done this research to figure out who you would want to work with. And we want to see that. We need to see that in your personal statement, what you want to work on and who you want to work with. When we get your applications, we look at that personal statement and we make sure that faculty that you mention as particular interests see your application and try to match that up with funding opportunities. The question that came in the chat was, do you recommend reaching out to research advisors before applying to a PhD? And answer to that is yes. Although you should not expect to get any kind of answer outside of your application. We have to receive the application. We have to see what's in the rest of the application too, the recommendations, the GPA, all of the other things. We can't give you answers about being accepted in response to an email, but this is a step to take to let faculty know that you're interested, make sure they see your application, and we do expect to hear from you about your interest in our program, as well as, to help us decide who's going to be a good fit to come in for what ends up being relatively limited funding resources.
Thanks, Joe. That brings us to our application fee. Once you submit your application, you will be required to pay an application fee. Domestic application, the application fee for domestic applicants is $60. This fee can be paid online when you submit your application via credit card or electronic check. For international applicants, the fee is $80. If you do not live in the US or have a US bank account, paying by credit card is your best option. If you do not have a credit card or prefer not to pay that way, your next best option is to send an international money order made payable to the University of Colorado. Again, application fees are due at the application deadline, which is December 1st. Note that your application will be withdrawn by the graduate school if payment is not received within 2 weeks of the submission deadline. Application fee waivers. At this time, due to limited funding, we cannot offer application fee waivers. So our deadline for fall admission, our application deadline for fall admission is December 1st. That is 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The application portal will allow you to submit your application once all required information has been entered. The application does not reach faculty review until your recommendation letters, English proficiency scores, if applicable, and your application fee have all been received. Once you've submitted your application, you should check the application portal for admission updates. Our faculty review of applicants is an ongoing process. So if there is no decision listed on the portal, that means your application is still under review. You will be notified by email once a decision has been posted to your application. Review process after December 1st. After you submit your application, the graduate school will review your submission to ensure all of the required materials are included. Your application will then be sent to the Environmental Engineering Graduate Committee and faculty. Faculty will then review the application and they will look closely at your application materials to get a holistic view of your eligibility, and they will decide on admission. If admitted, your admission letter will include information on your assigned faculty advisor, course deficiencies if applicable, and next steps for accepting admission to CU Boulder. If you are offered funding, you will be informed in a separate letter. Funding offers given before April 15th have an April 15th decision deadline. Joe, do you have any more thoughts or insights into what makes an application stand out to committee members?
Yeah, let me mention one thing. We in environmental engineering, it's inherently interdisciplinary. We get a lot of applicants from what I'll try to nicely say non-engineers, right? Students who don't have an engineering undergrad degree. And we have a set of undergraduate prerequisite courses that you have to take before you finish your master's or PhD degree, could be either one, for us to be able to give you an engineering degree. The real goal of that is that if you take the next step in engineering, it might be to try to become a professional engineer. And you've got some of the undergraduate classes you need to take the first step in that process, which is taking an exam called the Fundamentals of Engineering exam, first step in becoming a professional engineer. So if anybody has questions about the undergraduate prerequisites, please feel free to type them in, or we'll take some time afterwards to answer questions about that as well in our second half hour. Just to get back to the reviewing the applications, we make sure that, like I said before, based on what you've got in your personal statement, we'll make sure that faculty members who you think would be good targets for the kind of research or learning that you want to do, see your application. This is especially true on the PhD level. And I think the other thing that's important is that we look at all parts of the application, recommendations, statement, as well as the GPA. There are plenty of people who might be coming back to school after a while, and maybe when they were undergraduates, getting high grades didn't happen. I have to say that was sort of like my own case. Some semesters I was a lot better at ultimate frisbee than I was at some of my courses. But if you were in a case like that, the personal statement should address that and tell us why you're now a lot more ready for further education than maybe you were when you were doing your undergraduate degree. That's just one small tip, I suppose, that we would want to see in a personal statement, to just sort of tell your story and tell us why you think you're worthwhile to come here for your graduate degree.
Thanks, Joe. I will have you speak on this slide also, please.
Okay, sure. Yes. So in general, we've got two categories up here: PhD applicants and the professional master's applicants. Quick story on the professional master's applicants is that there's no financial support for incoming professional master's applicants. There is a pathway. You could end up coming here as a professional master's admitted student, and during your time here, you might end up finding a faculty member who has need for a master's student to do a research project, and you are eligible to transfer from the professional master's to the standard master's of science, and then potentially, if there is research funding for that project, you could end up as a graduate research assistantship. with a graduate research assistantship. And some of you might also get tapped to do teaching assistantships once you're here, not on the way in. Flip side of that for the PhD applicants is that there's an expectation that you would be coming in and getting started on a funded research project. And the funding may take the form of a graduate research assistantship, the second category I've got there. And you can see some of the details there. And that's funding that basically comes from an individual faculty member. That's grants, proposals that we write, grants that get funded, and we need people to do the work. And so we're trying to match up applicants with the work that needs to be done. We also have the teaching assistantships that sometimes can be used to fill in, sometimes can be used in the first year to get some time to take courses before really diving into research. And finally, down at the bottom, mention external and internal fellowships. Certainly, if you've had the good fortune to get some external funding, whether it's, say, from the National Science Foundation's Graduate Research Fellowship as one example, or perhaps from some science organization in your home country, we want to know about that and make sure that we take advantage of getting you here and having us benefit from your ability to get that kind of funding. We also have some limited university and College of Engineering fellowships that we have that we can offer to students. Everybody who applies, all the PhD applicants who apply will get considered for that. Nothing special you have to do on your application to get considered for that. But those are just some possibilities that we have of doing some recruiting with a little bit of extra funding.
Okay, so that is the end of our application process presentation. I'm going to open up the floor for any questions that you may have. You can put them in the chat, or you can go ahead and turn on your microphone and you can ask the question directly.
I see we had one other question about getting an application fee waiver.
Yeah, as mentioned before, we are out of funds for application fee waivers for this year. So we are not able to offer any application fee waivers at this time. Any other questions?
There was another question in the chat, Deanne, about whether students need to secure an advisor before they're able to apply.
You do not need to secure an advisor before you apply. I would recommend for you to identify an advisor if you find one that you would like to work with in your personal statement. You should also send them an email. As Joe mentioned previously, they may not get back to you, but it's always good to send them an email and also put them in your personal statement. Any more advice, Joe, on that?
Just to reiterate that, Deanne, no, you don't need to secure an advisor to apply. It is something that we think is a good idea to do as you're applying, to do your best job of describing what you want to do for a PhD in your application, but also making contact with potential advisors, faculty in our program. A handful of questions that just came in.
Oh, okay.
How long would it take to get an admission email from the university for the spring semester 24? Is that for planning to start in the spring semester? I guess I'll assume that is. So I guess the question would be, when would those spring admission decision letters be expected to go out?
Yeah, applications are still being reviewed by faculty and our admissions committee first for spring semester. So as soon as we receive a decision, we do start to process those admission letters. So we don't really have like a set date as to when those will be mailed out. But like we mentioned earlier, the best place to check for your admissions decision is in the application portal. And then shortly after that, you would receive a letter.
I see a question about what are some of the opportunities graduate students in the program have for professional development? And also, are there student groups to join? I think my first quick answer to that is with the size of our graduate program, it's almost like a student group in itself. And there's been really commendable levels of students taking the initiative to do group activities. And if you wanted to get some more details on that, we'd be really happy to put you in touch with some of the students who have been here for a year or two and feel like this. I think the general feeling would be this is a place that it has been very supportive to do excellent work in environmental engineering, and it's people think it's a great place to live. I think one student group that I really should mention, because it was founded here, the University of Colorado Boulder, by one of our civil engineering professors, was Engineers Without Borders, and that's probably one of the most notable student groups available. At the graduate level, I think the student groups aren't quite as numerous. At the undergrad level, we've got a Society for Environmental Engineering, and I think that would be the kind of thing where we haven't really had graduate students involved there, but there's certainly an opportunity to take initiative there and get started on that.
Okay, we can take one more question, and then we will go on to the next part of our session, which will be the breakout rooms. For anybody whose question did not get answered today, please reach out to the evengrad.advising email box, and we will be happy to answer your question. So the last question we're going to field here is, do the letters of recommendation need to be in by the deadline of December 1st? They do not. Your application needs to be submitted by December 1st. But your letters of recommendation and your supplemental documents can come in after that date. But please keep in mind that your application will not move forward in the review process until all of the letters and transcripts are received. Okay, thank you everybody for attending our session. Again, if we did not get to your question, please reach out to the evengrad.advising@colorado.edu mailbox, and we will be happy to answer your question. At this time, we're now going to open breakout rooms for your area of interest. So please go ahead and join the, sorry, I just got to pop up here. Join the room that's appropriate for your interest. If you do not know what interest you should go into, you can stay in this main room and we can help you to figure out where you should be.